is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
Oh, there we go! They touch!
This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Frankie! Down to the inside of Hookie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
We are down to 2 races to go in the 2018 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And realistically, we are down to 2 drivers now for the championship because, well, let's be honest about it. After a bit of a disappointing day last time out for Gregor Hutu with incident, it means that it's a battle of the 2 co-under drivers. Will it be Martin Kroenke getting himself his 3rd world title, or will it be Mitchell de Jong potentially claiming his 1st? That is the big storyline heading in today as we say, welcome to Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, as we welcome you to qualifying for round number 13 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. After this, we have only got 1 more race to go, and that will be at Circuit of the Americas. There's also the question of who's going to keep their licenses for next season, and who is going to have to run on the hard and arduous Pro Series of road racing. That is the journey ahead, as it's Will Vincent, Jake Sperry, and Jonathan Simon as we are in qualifying mode. Track length around here, it is the longest track in F1. It's 4.3 miles long. It's perfect skies. It's clear, 4-mile-an-hour winds, 24 degrees Celsius. And what that means is we are going to see drivers having almost perfect conditions. Drivers are on track right now, Jake, and even though Gregor Hutu, I would say, would need a miracle to win the championship, he can still be a factor in which of the two Coanda drivers ends up claiming this trophy at season's end.
He certainly could do, Will, and that's going to be so telling because Gregor Hutu does not have any allegiances. His championship is all bar over after a couple of poor showings, but he knows that he is out there to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to win races. And if Gregor Hutu can, Will, then he will go out there and do so, irregardless of what happens for the championship pretenders. And that's going to be very telling because these championship rivals know, yes, they've got a championship, but everyone else is fighting for pride.
Yep, as first blood will go then to the driver of Martin Kroenke. He gets himself 145.380. Mac Backham, second place. About half a tenth to a second back. Jamie Fluke moves himself up into third place. Gregor Hutu fourth, and Joshua Rogers in the fifth position. We are yet to see Mitchell de Jong set himself a time. We are going to do that one right now because we are on board of him, Johnny, as he works himself down the hill.
Yeah, this is a very unique part of the lap here, Rouge. 7th gear. Just want to get this line right, hug the inside, put in all the rest deployment you can over this straight. So there's been talk this round over teams whether or not they're using low downforce or medium downforce. I think you'll see most of the top teams using that low downforce trim as now de Jong heads through Les Combes for the early part of the lap here. You don't want to go too wide through this complex and then floor it through the next right-hander. Now to the next downhill braking zone, down to third gear through this corner for de Jong, and this is such a tough corner to get right. Well, you're on the throttle, shift up, goes to fifth gear, even down to fourth now through the next corner and on towards Pouan. The car is very difficult to handle here, easy for the tires to slide if you get this wrong. You want to be polite and patient with the throttle.
Yeah, we are trying to get the lap times up for the driver, Mitchell de Jong. We can't do so just yet, the sectors, unfortunately, so we're just going to ride on board of him instead, through the final chicane, underneath the Vodafone Bridge into Stavlo 1. He was a little bit loose there on the exit of Fangya as he runs a curve through Stavlo 2, called a curve of Paul Frere, call it what you will, as now. Oh, he slows it down. So that is going to be an aborted lap. Maybe there, the pressure kicking in for him, Jake.
Yeah, pressure telling then for Mitchell de Jong. He needs a perfect lap time. Of course, Martin Kroenke, this is what we call the Martin Kroenke track. This is where he is favourite at. This is where people are expecting him to come out of the woodwork and win races, as we look at Ilkka Haapala right now, heading himself to the Les Combes complex, and Malmedy, the right-hander that comes up right about now. It's a tough circuit for de Jong to get right. He knows he's on the back foot for this one, but he knows more than anybody else, it's wins or bust at this stage.
It is. It is close in terms of the championship. We'll talk about that afterwards. But de Jong, he has got to keep his head in the game because we have seen people have issues in races pretty much all season long. And, well, one poor result for Martin Kroenke could put de Jong in the driver's seat as Ilkka Haapala working a lap right now. And Marcus Jensen, he's up into fourth place then in the Burst eSports car, Johnny. And he is about 4 tenths back right now from Kroenke.
Yeah, very quick lap from the young man. Spa is not an easy track to master. The likes of Ilkka Haapala is heading through curb. Paul Frere has been racing at this track now for many seasons. 9 seasons in total for Ilkka Haapala in this championship. He has a race win to his name as well, a couple of those. So he's been very quick through the final corner. Difficult to spot the brake marker here because of the shadows. Some drivers found that difficult. Hugs the curbs a little bit too much, I think, through the final chicane. That will cost him a little bit of time, I think. You don't want to hug the curbs too much across the line. Only a 46.5, so I think definitely through that final chicane, Will. A bit too tight on the curbs. You want to be just 2 wheels on the curbs. Most of the car on the tarmac. That's the best way to head through those couple of corners. Yeah,
Paul Ilbrink is on a lap right now. Mogar Philo, sorry, Paul Ilbrink's not yet on a lap. He's warming up for him. Mogar Philo is doing a lap right now. The situation here, Jake, for Mitchell de Jong, this is now his 1 attempt. He is crawling on the exit of the second part of Pouan in towards the final chicane right now. And he's basically got to get out of Stavolo and floor it just to get a bit of heat into those tyres.
Well, he has to. He said, admittedly, after his qualifying effort last week at Suzuka, he said that that slow tactic doesn't work for me. It didn't work for me in my opening lap, so I have to go out there and blast a lap time, get some heat into the tyres, and go out there and make it happen. So De Jong absolutely needs to find the pace, but I think that he's reverting back to an old strategy, because what he's tried in the opening laps hasn't worked out for him. He knows he hasn't got long to make it, and with the time that he's got, with the length of the lap that you have here, he's got a lot of work to do. And I tell you what, there will be some surprises as things stand. So drivers like Tommy Erskard, for example, will up into 6th position, which is a very strong qualifying for the Norwegian.
After all of that, only P number 6, Johnny, for the driver of Mitchell de Jong.
It looked like a perfect lap. Yeah, as we're watching it, he was very quick. He was spot on, no mistakes. Maybe lost a bit of time through curb Paul Frere as the car started to step away from him. But that's so surprising because you look at his teammates up in front. Mac Backham, only 100th of a second off pole position from Kroenke. And this is a Martin Kroenke track. So this is a double whammy for Mitchell. He's not even on the front row alongside his championship rival. And he's all the way down in P6.
Yeah, apologies there. We did actually have some audio issues. That sticky button strikes again. Gregor Hutu will come in towards the bus stop chicane for what will be his final lap around here. 145.870 last time by. He will cross the stripe and he will go a little bit faster. 145.716, and he moves himself up into 7th place. The saving grace, if there is any at all, is the fact there that if you are the driver of Mitchell de Jong, Jake, at least you're ahead of Hutu.
At least, but it's only one position. We know Gregor is a much better racer than he is a qualifier, so de Jong knows that he's got to be looking not only to get forward, but in his rear view mirrors as well, at just how aggressive a certain Gregor Hutu can be and did show 2 weeks ago. And I will just point out that Martin Kroenke, just for a bit of fun, found another, shall we say, 0.08 of a second, Will, just to boost his qualifying efforts. He wants to be the only man in the 45.2s.
Yep, he often does it, and he's done it again. That is Martin Kroenke. Let's have a look then at your qualifying order. The 24 drivers making up the 13th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And it is Martin Kroenke by almost 1/10 of a second who gets pole position over his teammate Mac Backham, who of course earlier on in this season looked to be a championship contender. He has fallen back a little bit. Row 1 is all Koana Simsports, and Row 2 is all about Burst Esports. Josh Rogers in 3rd place and Marcus Jensen in 4th. Rounding out your top 5 is the first Apex Racing UK machine of Jamie Fluke, with Mitchell de Jong in P number 6 for Koana Simsports. P number 7 will go over to Gregor Hooter and Team Redline. Tommy Erskard, David Williams and David Accor round out your top 10. As we cycle it on back, it is Kevin Ellis Jr. in 11th place, Michael Partington in 12th, Yalvaz 13th, and Pash Kyrgyz, Stephen Michaels rounding out your top 15. Ilka Harpala, Ricardo Orozco, Antoine Heglin, Peter Berryman and Kazuki Umeshima. They are your top 20. Rest and final part of your qualifying results are on your screen. We will take a quick break. We've got plenty to break down, and that'll be next here on the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series on the iRacing eSports Network. The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
Oh, there we go! They touched!
This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Cronky! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to coverage of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and let's have a look at the top 10 from your qualifying once again. Martin Kroenke, pole position by a 1/10 of a second over his VOS Koana SimSports driver teammate, Mac Backham. Joshua Rogers, 3rd place. Marcus Jensen in 4th for Burst Esports. And rounding out your top 5 was Apex Racing UK's Jamie Fluke. Mitchell de Jong in 6th place had to abort his first qualifying lap. His second lap technically looked good. However, he didn't have the speed, he was being conservative, and he could only manage P number 6. Gregor Hutu, Team Redline in 7th place. Arguably for de Jong, that's his one saving moment, and the fact that there's 2 drivers behind as well from that Koana SimSports stable, and Orion Race Team, David Accor rounds out your top 10. Will Vincent, Jake Sperry, Jonathan Simone, as we now get ourselves on the build-up to the race. And well, Johnny, in terms of what's going to happen next, all eyes on row number 3 and 4.
Yeah, de Jong, Hutu, both still in contention for the championship. They both look really quick out there. They need to get a clean start and just jump ahead of those young drivers up ahead.
As well as behind, you've got yourself, well, the way the championship works here, Jake, is you've got to consider the fact that the top 20 drivers will retain their license for next year. As we have a look at the championship right now, Martin Kroenke on 907 points, Mitchell de Jong on 898, Gregor Hutu in 3rd place. And we talk about the fact that Hutu is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's out of the championship unless Kroenke and de Jong both crash out at least once in the next 2 races and Hutu wins both. But realistically, it is a Koana SimSports showdown. And the first thing I want to talk about here is that historically, Koanda, those 2 drivers are Kroenke and de Jong, have had some of the best reliability in the history of the World Championship Series.
I think there's only been 1 race so far this year, Will, where that hasn't been true, and that was Monza. And of course, Gregor Hutu, he himself couldn't capitalise on that either because Finland decided to go off on a holiday for about 30 minutes or so. But I think that for Martin Kroenke and for Mitchell de Jong, they understand that this race is about them. De Jong's got it all to do. Kroenke's just got to do what he did all of last year and for most of this year as well. I think that the bigger thing for Gregor is, okay, I think my championship's over. Let's just start thinking about, okay, building up for next year, maybe getting a few teammates at Redline back into the series. The one thing that has been criminally underlooked, in my opinion, Will, though, has been just how good Burst Esports have been in qualifying.
They have. They've got 2nd row in the grid again. But at the same time, Jake, to kind of build upon that, let's not forget, we talked about Apex Racing UK having that over the last couple of years, and the race pace is good. And let's not say the race pace at Burst is bad at all, but the race pace isn't quite at the level of qualifying yet.
No, it isn't, and I think that Burst have done well to get themselves within 2 3/10 of where they need to be at all races. I think they just need that little bit more. They've signed a new driver in Harrison Finch who will be adding to their development progress. Of course, not in this championship yet, but I think that Burst are going about this the right way. I will say about Apex, though, it's a shocking qualifying by Peter Berryman out there on a 46.3 when you got Jamie Fluke on a 45.6. Something went horribly wrong for Berryman in qualifying today.
Yeah, a couple of points, Sean. I think the first thing for Peter Berryman is, in terms of where he is in the championship right now, he's kind of in cruise control mode. But the one thing I really do want to talk about is having a look down here on page number 2 and the potential drop zone. That includes a number of big drivers right now. You've got Marty Piatella in P20th, 19th place Ricardo Orozco, David Williams in 18th, and Kazuki Umeshima in the 17th position. They are currently separated by 16 points. And if we turn the page over between 20th and 21st position, well, that is just, there we are, 10 points to Michael Partington. So, realistically right now, anything can happen from about P number 16 all the way down to about P number maybe 22. Remniak's probably got a bit too much work to do.
Yeah, it definitely does. I don't think the drivers below Piatella, apart from Partington, has looked pretty strong out there. Ilbrink's shown up a few races, just hasn't had the pace so far. Same with Remniak, and De Corps had a strong round last time out at Suzuka. I remember he had that pit speeding penalty, which really cost him a lot of time. So look out for David De Corps here at Spa and see if he can possibly replicate on that. But who knows if anyone else behind the likes of Filio and Bida haven't attended the past 2 rounds. It looks like it's all said and done for your top 20 unless someone comes and surprised the bunch. Piatella's been absent too, because I think when he comes into the fray, he'll be a lot quicker than he is. He's not a P20 championship driver for sure. He's been on the podium this year, don't forget, all the way back at Road America.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, John, I mean, a lot of these drivers, and this is a kind of wider conversation, are taking part in more and more things. You now got 6 different world championships on iRacing. We talk about the other stuff that goes on in the growing kind of motorsport, eSport area. Combine that with the fact that more LAN events are coming up. I've got a number of friends over in Japan right now with another company that we're not going to talk about. That I think a lot of these drivers, you know, they're trying to make it into a profession, but by doing so, they're almost spreading themselves too thinly.
Yeah, so that all comes into the equation as well. Then again, today's race, different story. What we have to focus on again is we spoke about that championship battle between Kroenke and De Jong. I think that's where that's really the big key. I mean, we try to steer away from the top all the time. We do talk about them a lot, but Martins is just to focus on that once more. He is the king of Spa. If he gets an incident point today, I'll be truly surprised.
First ever 24-hour race that we did here, Jake, was at Spa-Francorchamps. It was a race spot, Spa 24. The stats that came out on Martin Kroenke are absolutely astonishing in terms of how he just knows every single piece of this track. He managed to do an entire 24-hour race, of course not by himself, with 0 incident points. And, you know, you talk about the fact that this is a safety rating killer track, but even then, he's able to somehow, you know, just keep it clean on the iron and still deliver results. And with the fact that he's got himself, you know, his championship rival 5 places behind him. He's got himself Mac Backham, who I'm sure won't do anything stupid and will realise that Kroenke is going for the championship. This could be the easiest race of Kroenke's season that we've got coming up.
It could do. You have to remember, Will, back in 2014, the off-track instant points were even stricter than they are today. So that just tells you how good of a driver Kroenke was back there. But I wouldn't say it's a formality, Will. No race is ever a formality when you go into it. Something could happen. You could blow the engine up. We've seen twice this season how Kroenke has thrown away winning positions in the opening 3 rounds of the championship. Martin Kroenke could have just the same moment as anybody else. Now, I think Mac Backham's the easiest driver he has to fight with on the grid because basically Mac Backham's going to play the role of Valtteri Bottas here today. But I think that there are drivers who can challenge, like Rogers, like Jensen, like Fluke, who have a name to prove today.
Okay, it's winner time. Who is going to be your pick for this 13th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series? Jake.
I can't look past Martin Kroenke. Despite what I've said, I think that he's got a cool head on very experienced shoulders, and I think he'll go to one hand on the trophy.
Johnny.
Hey, I'd pick Kroenke too, but obviously you have to go with someone different. Jake's stolen that, which is I'd probably have to pick Mac Backham, who's second best to win it today. He's put in so much work these past few weeks, Mac Backham. He's never improved driver, and we'll see that later today.
So, we have got ourselves a race. It will kick off in exactly 11 minutes and 15 seconds time. It will be live, of course, here on the iRacing Esports Network. Coverage brought to you by RaceSpot TV. We're heading ourselves to the race. Join us. We'll be back in a minute.
chair of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerit at the line.
The yellow flag is out. Pit road is now open. Keep your eye on those gauges. We'll give you 4 tyres. 3, 2, 1, now. We're done. Get going.
welcome to Spa. Welcome to the track that really tests a driver and determines the good from the great. Welcome to a track that over the years has seen so much controversy, so much exciting racing, and so much drama. Today in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, we might not see the drama at the front because at a track where he is arguably better than anyone, Martin Kroenke has got pole position by a 1/10 of a second. His main championship rival, Mitchell de Jong, well, he is in P number 6, and he's going to have a lot of work to do here today. The Burst eSports duo, they continue their good run of form in qualifying by getting themselves the second row of the grid. And Gregor Hutu, for those wondering, he's down in P number 7, inside of row number 4, and he will be looking to battle it out with de Jong at the start of this event. But they both need to remember they've got bigger pictures to go and hunt down. That will be Martin Kroenke. Hello and welcome to RaceSport TV and welcome to the iRacing eSports Network. Will Vincent with Jake Sperry and Jonathan Simone as we will have a look at the track conditions. It is currently 22 degrees. It's cooled down a little bit since qualifying, and there's now a couple of clouds in the sky. 51% humidity and wind speeds, well, they have picked up. It's now about 10 to 12 kilometers an hour winds at this racetrack, and it's 4.3 miles in length. It's been a staple of the World Championship Series for so many years. And of course, we want to thank the people that get it done for us as well. Islam Balao, TrackCams22.com, Andres Warner and And1 Design for our overlay design development by Simon Grossman and Actioneering.com. And finally, to Nick Thisson for RaceSport TV, live timing and scoring, which will be available at the conclusion of lap number 1. Johnny, Hutu versus the driver of de Jong. Do they fight early, or do they try and work together to get up towards Kroenke in this opening stint?
They want to avoid that situation, so they want to get off the line well, at least for de Jong, and try and find some way around Jamie Fluke, Marcus Jensen, Josh Rogers, even Mac Backham in the early laps. So Mitchell de Jong will want to get a good start here. They'll put in a lot of practice, not just in this warm-up session, but hopefully into their starts over the past couple of weeks. We know Martin Kroenke got off the line quicker than Mitchell de Jong last week at Suzuka, and de Jong had to go on the defensive. So today, will de Jong be prepared, or is he more confident off the line?
Jake, in terms of Matt Backham, we assume that he's not going to go and try and go for the race lead here today, but we also assume that he's not just going to be a rear gunner. Now, Burst Esports behind, they are good in the first stages of the race quite often, so Backham needs Kroenke to hurry up at the start.
They do, and also they don't, because not only does Matt Backham not necessarily need to take the position away from Martin Kroenke, he's got the job of holding off Burst behind. We know they're quick off the start, but it may be that Matt Backham's role today is just to hold up Rogers, hold up Jensen, and make sure that Martin Kroenke has the buffer that is needed to go out and win a race in a Martin Kroenke fashion.
Yep, we have also got coverage going on today on the iRacing Esports Network of the Petit Le Mans. Let's check in very quickly with Paul Smith and Bo Albert.
Already one of the cars peeling off to take their first pit stop.
You can catch that, of course, on the iRacing Esports Network. Well, one driver's having a bit of an issue, getting themselves some repairs, and that's always the thing in endurance racing, managing repairs on a tight and twisty racetrack. Friday Night Primetime was there as well yesterday. Time for the talking to stop. Time to take a look at your starting grid, showing now up on your screen, and it is all about Coanda SimSports at the front of this one, as they will be looking to not only necessarily get a 1-2, maybe even a 1-2-3 here today. They've got themselves 5 drivers inside the top 10, so that should be pretty easy for them. And behind, you've got 2 Burst Esports drivers. 3rd place, Rogers. 4th place is Marcus Jensen. Jamie Fluke for Apex Racing UK in 5th. Mitchell de Jong, Koana Simsports in 6th. Enter the championship today in 2nd. 3rd place in the championship is Gregor Hutu. He is in 7th position with Tommy Erskard in the 8th spot. 9th place is David Williams for Coanda and Orion Race Team's David Accor in P number 10. Apart from Jamie Fluke, it's been a disappointing day for Apex Racing UK, as the rest of the results will cycle through on your screen now for you. Look at that. 18th and 19th for Apex, as our 24-car field are now almost lined up on the grid and ready to go. 44 laps around this track, which is Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps, and what else could you have but 44 laps around Spa-Francorchamps? It's got a Grand Prix field to it, 24 drivers, 44 laps, and we are just moments away from going racing. Lights on, lights out, we are away, and breaking news, Mitchell de Jong does not take the grid for this event. As the drivers head themselves in towards turn number 1 for the first time, Mitchell de Jong cannot get himself to the green flag. We have a couple of incidents down at La Source, but the big news is Mitchell de Jong not taking the green here. It's Kroenke from Backham right now as they head themselves past the kink for the first time. All the drivers will fill themselves through, and we got one car off there at Radio. I believe that could be Balis Remniak. Indeed it is. Balis Remniak having himself an issue on lap number 1, Jake.
Wow, what a very dramatic start, and this could be the moment that the championship gets decided just like that, as they're 3 wide in the middle. All the Apex cars have come together as well in the background, with Stephen Michaels and all around go 2, and I think that's Higeland who's gone around as well. So disaster for Race Clutch, disaster for Apex, disaster for Mitchell de Jong.
What a first lap, Johnny. What's going on here? As we have a look at a replay with Peter Berryman.
I don't think anyone knows what's going on. Here's Peter Berryman, and then you see the chaos. This is like 2009 in Formula 1 at Lake Com. There's no room, and Berryman finds a piece of the puzzle, finds a slot, sorry, and look at the chaos that ensues behind. More contact. Not the traditional start we see in this series. We normally have some very clean starts at the top level of esports and simulation racing, but today none of that. And to add a drama, de Jong's still not in this race. Something's gone wrong for the American.
Yeah, technical issues, and of course they always say, Jake, yep, it might be virtual racing, there might be things like hardware issues, etc. But you know what? You have it in real life racing. We're seeing it here today. Heartbreak for the American Mitchell de Jong, because he's going to be a lap down here, and his chances of the championship now are hanging in a balance. He is now finally going onto track, but he will be 1 lap down.
He won't only be 1 lap down, but he will be relying heavily on retirements as well, which is the last thing that de Jong needs. And of course, with a reduced field at 24 drivers, yes, we've seen some incidents in the early goings, but he needs a lot more drivers to come together and have some incidents if he wants to keep his championship alive. Remember, the championship points that you saw at the top of this broadcast, they were included without the 1 drop week that is added into this series. You look at it with the drop week applied, Will, it's a lot worse for Mitchell de Jong than you thought it would be. So now he needs some retirements and Kroenke to slip up.
Yeah, so we might, I say the word might, depending on situations today, be able to crown a champion today. But part of that also, Johnny, depends on what Gregor Hutu does, because now Hutu all of a sudden has the opportunity to think about getting 2nd place in the championship again.
Yeah, not only that, but as he runs wide, very wide here through campus, as one of the names it coins, he takes a very tight line through this next corner at Stavolo. This is just not a good sequence of corners in this sector, but yeah, you're right. Hutu in P6 is a chance here and could claim P2 in the championship at the end of this round. But most importantly, Mac Backham is keeping Kroenke honest in this race. You know, maybe Kroenke thinks, okay, I might wrap up the championship, but if Mac grabs the race win, he might even take it if it doesn't matter for Martin.
Yeah, it does right now. So let's have a look on board with Mac Backham in that VOS Koana Simsports number 16 machine. Lap number 2 of this 44 race is scored complete then. And don't forget, you can visit raceport.tv/timing for up-to-the-date updates on what your favourite driver is doing over the course of this broadcast. And of course, you can subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network on YouTube right now. Just search for iRacing eSport Network. It's Kroenke from Bakken, from Rogers, from Jensen, from Fluke. They are your top 5 drivers right now. So your top 5 are unaffected, and realistically, there's not been much change at all in your top 10, Johnny. All that's really happened is people from Gregor Houty back have kind of moved up a position until you get down to around that P12-13 area. As we look now to Peter Berryman, he's making an overtake, and he's now past Ricardo Orozco.
Important move for Peter, and so he's not used to qualifying down all the way in the 19th position. Up ahead of his, some battles with Kazuki Umeshima, who's very close to Ilkka Haapala. Umeshima, we spoke about Will early on, needs that top 20 spot in the championship, so he's looking quick, the Japanese driver. And Pash Jurgis, who's always strong at Spa in the top 10 as well, climbed his way from the 14th position.
Yeah, so we're looking at Kazuki Umeshima right now. He is hunting down Ilkka Haapala, but Ilkka Haapala, of course, is one of the statesmen of the World Championship Series, Jake, and he is a driver who has been here since 2010 for that Orion Racing, one of the longest-serving teams also in the World Championship Series, so this will not be easy for Umeshima because Haapala's really good at this track, for starters, but also he knows almost every trick in the book.
He certainly does, and we saw contact between Umeshima and Haapala through Rivage, which is not going to be helping Umeshima's race at all in the, my opinion, and therefore fact podcast-sponsored Radicals Online car. So for Kazuki, he knows he's got to get himself charging forward, and he's got to make sure that he gets every position cleanly. He's +8 already in this event, up into 12th position. He wants 11th, and he may get a little bit of help further in front as well, because that was a very wide line from Pash Jurgis as he is on the Koanda train behind Gregor Houty.
What really happened there, Johnny, it was more about Tommy Erskine in turn number 1, kind of taking a tighter line, and Pash Jurgis, as a consequence, then had to kind of push wide.
Yeah, different lines there, as you said, so you're spot on there. Jurgis just a different driving style. There's many a line you can take through La Source. You don't want to cut into that first corner too much because there's a bit of a dip through the apex that just costs you a bit of grip, costs you a bit of balance as well. So you just want to go 2 wheels on the curb, around the outside. Erskine's line wasn't that bad, but whatever works for you in your setup, of course, and your driving style. And Jurgis, who has had a great start. We know Tommy Erskine's second time he's qualified in the top 10. Every Koanda driver should be quick at this circuit, we know, but it's the likes of these guys on screen. Peter Berryman in the Apex Racing UK car. He's been close to race wins. Today's a different challenge for him nevertheless. Here's the dirty air through curb Paul Frey. You're definitely going to run wide there. May have even picked up an off track. We'll have plenty of those in his bank, so nothing to worry about. And then Blotchimon in dirty air. Full fuel, you'll definitely be backing off the throttle here. No brake, of course. And a tough lap for Peter Berryman so far.
Yeah, 13th place, Ilkka Haapala is ahead. Kazuki Umeshima, of course, is now ahead of Ilkka Haapala. So this is why I often say, John, this is where you see a true driver talent. After they spend, a year or so enjoying the high life of the top 10, when they do end up back in these mid-pack battles, this is where you can see if they've still got the kind of edge in terms of their racecraft. This will be fun to watch for the likes of Berryman, for the likes of Umeshima here today, for the likes of Jurgis also as well. As Gregor Houty, by the way, is right behind Jamie Fluke, and he'll go to the outside as they come in towards their curve, and he will get himself that move complete. Houty into the top 5, Johnny.
And Berryman crashed at the same time, so while we're watching Houty on our main screen, our second race spot screen had Peter Berryman crash at the top of Eau Rouge. So good move by Gregor, and another guy who's one of the top 5 drivers this year. Here we're watching Peter Berryman, lost it all on his own, and that's eventually going to happen. He's lucky not to collect a few cars who were riding up Eau Rouge, but he bounced way too much over the curb there, and that will always unsettle the car, especially at lap 5 of the event. Your tires are this worn. You'll get away with that on the first lap of the stint, but not 5 laps through with these Pirelli tires.
Well, yeah, and one of the things, of course, Jake, that we don't see is, like in Formula 1, the sparks that come underneath the car. I remember, for example, back in my IndyCar days, watching IndyCar as well, on a heavy fuel after a restart, those cars are sparking the entire round the racetrack. You see it when they compress up the hill at Radion. You see the sparks coming out of that car. Many people think that Eau Rouge Radion today is not a hard corner. It's not if you're running all by yourself, but if you're in dirty air on heavy fuel, it is still a handful.
It is still a handful, Will, and Berryman proved it. He caught the curb on the inside of Radeon, and then that unsettled the vehicle, caused the incident, and Berryman did so well to keep that vehicle away from other cars. Great heads-up driving, great awareness to make sure that he doesn't make contact with anyone else. And crucially enough for Mitchell de Jong, that's an extra position in the bank that he can cash and say, you know what, that's another one I can get back on a certain Martin Kroenke. Look at Tommy Erskard though, Will, because he's got David Williams just in front, looking to try and pick that run. But again, Eau Rouge Radeon has proven that dirty air can hurt, has hurt a lot, and the DRS-ERS train in full effect, meaning that Erskard can't get close enough in the one.
Peter Berryman on social media should have stayed in Magaluf. Well, first of all, never go to Magaluf. Go somewhere good. I mean, you can spend as much money flying somewhere like Hong Kong or Tokyo or Vietnam and have yourself a fantastic holiday rather than Magaluf. And apologies to any tourist boards out there. However, Gregor Hutto, just have a look at the lap times a minute ago there, Jacob. He is slowly catching Marcus Jensen, and he's already distanced himself from Jamie Fluke. The question will be, over the next couple of laps, is David Williams going to start hurting Erskine and Gergis in this three-car Coanda train, and did it do a little bit of shuffling around?
Well, that's the question that Coanda needs to be looking at, and they've got a pit stop or two which they can work on. Conditions today, 31 would probably indicate a one stop. Johnny's probably more experienced than I am to give a better indication of that, but I think that if there was a case of being held up, they can manufacture that sort of overtaking the stops. For Hutto, he knows that he is better through the final third of a stint. It's something, Will, that you say all the time about the big strength of Gregor Hutto. He's catching Jensen, a driver who's great in the early stages but falls away, and the same could be said for Rogers as well. Hutto's got third at the moment if he just keeps some good driving. In fact, he took 3/10 out of Martin Kroenke on that last lap.
Yeah, Johnny, your thoughts?
On the strategy?
Yeah.
So it should be lap 14 for a two-stop. I think you go any further, you could probably stretch it to a one-stop in this race. I think lap 17 is probably the safest option for a one-stop. Because the temperatures right now, track temps at 31 degrees, not that bad. The tyre wear is not as critical as it was here at Suzuka. There's less corners that will really kill the tyres. I mean, curb pull flares a killer. The exit of pull on as you apply the throttle's a killer. The source kills the rear tyres. But apart from that, the rest of the lap's finally managed.
Let's go back, though, to your race leader, shall we? Shall we have a look at Martin Kroenke? Let's have a look at Mac Backham. Kroenke, well, he is pulling away here, Johnny, but he's not pulling away by much. And Backham is in DRS range. Now, normally would argue, okay, that might be that Backham, you know, is putting a lot of pressure onto Kroenke. I have another theory right now, and that theory could well be that Kroenke is trying to help Backham get that gap up to Gregor Hutto early on so that they can keep a Coanda 1-2 at the end. And staying inside of DRS range for Backham is going to be the biggest help for that.
Yeah, exactly. You're spot on there. So we'll see what happens later on in this event, and later on in this stint at least. Let's take it a stint at a time for sure. But Backham's looked quick. He's improved. Remember, he was only a few hundredths of a second off pole. And this is off pole from a two-time world champion who went perfect last season and didn't even lose a race. Won every single one of the 12 rounds we had. 14 rounds this year, a lot bigger of a challenge. Mac Backham has improved every single race he's been here at Coanda. So who knows, he could be the next world champion for this series after 2018.
Of course, Jake, in terms of Mitchell de Jong, we do need to check in on him because he is now racing. He has got himself out onto track. He is in the 21st position. And this is always the worst sight and the worst thing he can do because he's not even in that situation. He can just try and claw his way through the field. He has to rely on attrition here today because his nearest rival is Mogar Filo, who is 1 minute, actually just under 1 minute ahead on the road. So despite the fact that de Jong last time by was 1.2 faster, you know, he's not realistically going to gain many positions here today.
No, he's not, and he understands that better than anybody else. He has had some very unfortunate luck, and that has pretty much put him out for this event. He is still running around, but he is relying on incidents to happen. And the worst thing about this is that teams like Coanda, who have 5-6 members in them, they're all running together on track. they're not going to be risking anything for their race. They're not going to do a Nelson Piquet Jr. stage crash at, say, Singapore. Oh no, this is going to be raced fairly, raced cleanly, and you're going to see some very, very good overtakes. And it will be the same between, say, Umashima and Partington at the moment. Two teammates who will give each other room and give each other a lot of space. It is the worst built scenario in this situation, Will, for a Mitchell de Jong attrition factor.
Yes, and in terms of like David Williams, Tommy Erskard and Pash Gergis battle as well. But what's going on, Jake?
Higeland's out.
Yeah, we just showed a replay of that one a moment ago. He just pulled it off at the end of the bus stop chicane. But in terms of that Williams, I say battle, it's a trade realistically. The thing for Williams is he needs a point more than Erskard and Gergis because Williams is close to the bubble right now. So he cannot afford to lose positions to those guys behind. He's got to, if there is a kind of like team discussion going on right now, say, guys, I need this one.
Yeah, they will do, and I think that David Williams needs the points. Coanda understand that they need as many drivers in as possible, and David Williams is a valued member of their team, and strength in numbers has been the odus... let's get some words out, Jake, don't do your Latin. It's been the main operative of Coanda that we have seen, that they want as many people in that top level as possible, and if that means that drivers finish ahead of others, they'll take it. It's a team game in the end, Will, because if you get more cars in that field than anybody else, your sponsors get happy, you get the most airtime, and, you know, you can walk down the road and be very, very happy that you're a WCS driver.
Yes, indeed so. Although I don't think it necessarily works in terms of getting free entry to nightclubs or getting the elusive Nando Black card. But Dion Verge's Orion Race Team in P number 17, David DeCorb's Orion Racing P number 16. We're seeing a lot of teams here, Johnny, who are running as duos right now on track. We've got it at the front. We've got it between your top two Coanda drivers, the top two Burst eSports drivers, the three Coanda drivers in the middle of your pack. You've then got yourself Kazuki Machine like a Partington. You've then got yourself, as I say, Yalvaz, who's then got David DeCourse, Dion Verges behind him. Does that explain the fact that this is almost as big of a setup track as it is a driver's track? Talking about your comments on qualifying in terms of the high, medium, low downforce setup situation.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a setup track spot, but I do think the fact that all the teams are together goes to show that how much collaboration does matter in sim racing, because you want to be near the top, such as where Kroenke and Bakum are, and be the best team. But I definitely think Spa is more of a driver's track than anything. There are specific lines you need to take around here to get right. You can't scrub with too much speed, as we see through La Source. You don't want to turn in too early. You want to get that right. So yeah, there's a whole lot of the cases. The struggle that the teams near the bottom will have is going on to low downforce. And speaking to a few drivers about that, they just think that a lot of those bottom teams just don't have the chassis setup in the car to sustain a strong low downforce setup. And all this stuff matters. So this is where that knowledge and teamwork makes a difference in this championship. Those top teams with a lot more knowledge, a lot more experience are able to run the low downforce setup and be quicker. Coanda, obviously, up to 340 kilometers an hour at some straights, definitely on low downforce. Medium downforce, we're getting about 330 at the max with DRS open and ERS fully deployed. Yeah,
as we have a look at Paul Ilbrink, I think he just tagged the driver of Ricardo Orozco, Johnny, down at Rivage that time by. It was mighty close between them. Paul Ilbrink in 14th, Ricardo Orozco in 13th spot right now. And I think Ilbrink's on one of those kind of hurry-ups right now because he has been doing comparable lap times. He's been faster the last two, but the gap after Orozco to Hapola, get this, is a total of 4.6 seconds.
Yeah, a lot of time, so Ilbrink wants that clean air. He hasn't been quick at all in the past couple of races. Very impressive race this time out from Paul Ilbrink, and we know he needs it. He needs to be in the top 20, which is important. Opportunity to overtake here. Difficult to see the brake mark. I see all the shadows as well. The brake marker boards are so hard to see on the left-hand side, so it could be a very inconsistent corner as you drive along this track. Here's one of the two DRS zones on the circuit as we ride on board with Ilbrink. No move, but you just want to get a good clean line through here. Perfect line by the Radicals driver. He needs to deploy the ERS manually here. Try and pull off a move on the Kemmel straight.
Yeah, here they come through Air Rouge Radial. This is one of my favorite camera angles in all of sim racing, Jake, because you really do get the chance to see a bit of that elevation change before they go behind the trees. But Illbrink, they're playing that Indy 500 dance line game in terms of the downforce right now, and Illbrink not able to do anything over a Roscoe. To be a bit more technical for a moment, we've already talked about the high and the medium, the low downforce setups. With each of those comes different opportunities as well in terms of being able to overtake. The teams that are having to run the medium or higher downforce setups, they will actually have less opportunity to actually overtake and slipstream because of the amount of drag they already have on that car.
They do, Will, and over the course of one lap and being on your own, having a medium downforce setup in some respects can be better, especially for the medium section of the track, the likes of, say, Jackie Ick's corner and Pouon and Fania. That is where the medium downforce comes into a huge benefit, but I think that it struggles in other areas of the circuit, for example, the Kemmel Straight and the run over towards Blanchimont. Now, I've seen something very interesting as well, and that is around Josh Rogers, because he is right on the cusp of that 1 second window. Jensen has Hutu behind, but I noticed into turn number 1 how Rogers just ran a little bit wide and really ran into his own issues at 1. I think it's not going to be team orders though. He's just pulled out 1.1 seconds, and you know what that means, Will? It means that Jensen now is under threat from the 5-time champion.
Yeah, because here will come the driver of Gregor Hutu. Up the hill is your 5-time champ, and he right now, Johnny, is about 4 tenths to a second back from Marcus Jensen, and this is where we're going to see the difference in potential speed. Hutu, actually, for a team that normally doesn't go with the aggressive downforce strategy, that car closed up quite a bit. I think if he's a tenth closer, Hutu can make the move next time by.
And smartly, Hutu let go of the ERS button. You saw his speed decrease towards the end of the straight. Just knows he's not going to overtake Jensen, so save that as much as you can. Because the ERS, you don't want to be battling now with Jensen and have about 30% of battery left. You want to go into a battle with about 90% of ERS power at your hands. And so Hutu smartly does that. That saves a couple of percent there. It'll recharge every braking zone, of course. Here we ride with the 5-time champion, who could try to make his way possibly past a future champion in Marcus Jensen. Who knows?
Yeah, indeed. So up to, down to 143 kilometers an hour through Stavelot 1 into Cover Paul Frere, Stavelot 2. Put your bets on what you want to call it next time by, up into 7th gear. Over 315 kilometers an hour into 8th gear, over 330 kilometers an hour. He lifts and goes down about 20 kilometers an hour. They didn't do that in qualifying, they do in the race. They might not do at the end, however. Hutu's still behind the driver of Marcus Jensen, Jake, as they'll come onto lap number 13. No takers yet for this 2-stopper.
No takers yet. I think it is still a little bit too early, and of course with a longer lap like this one, you normally see a reduced pit stop window as well, which means that things can get a little bit, you know, difficult. Jensen has not had the best run though, through the Lassour's hairpin, up through the small kink left of Eau Rouge, the right and left of Radion, and now Hutu primed and ready in position, looking to make a move. DRS wide open as he looks to go through, and he shreds past Marcus Jensen like a Banksy painting, because he is now up into 4th position.
Yes, if you haven't seen it, check out what happened at an art auction yesterday with one of what was supposed to be Banksy's original work. The second it got auctioned, it got shredded. It's fantastic, fantastic news. But Gregor Hutu, Marcus Jensen, they've changed positions. David Corp and Dion Verges, they've just swapped positions as well. That's 2 Orion Race Team drivers there, Johnny, switching it up, and Dion Verges now has 4.8 to go before we can get to Paul Illbrink.
Yeah, De Corps didn't bother defending, so he probably conceded that to his teammate. It's been a bit disappointing for De Corps because he qualified 10th, and I thought he'd have a promising event in this. He's all the way down in 15th now, and he certainly looked good for a top 10 result at Suzuka if it wasn't for that speeding penalty. We spoke about that, so De Corps making a... as he runs way off the racetrack. That'll be an off track for both drivers there. But you can see they're struggling with tires at this stage, Will. They're coming to a point towards the end of this stint where the car becomes a lot more slippery. Conditions are a little bit, I think they're what's expected. And I think the drivers expected around these conditions for the race. So definitely nothing new for the drivers out there, but it's not going to be easy this long into the stint.
Oh, Rogers on pit road. Rogers is on pit road. from P number 4. Tommy Erskard is on pit road as well. Marcus Jensen is on pit road. So we've got split strategies going on here. We've got 6 drivers all on pit road, Jake. Talk us through it.
Well, Burst certainly have the strategy that they want. Williams, Erskard, and Jurgis in. All of Coanda in the second group come in. Verges and De Corpus come in both for Orion. So strategy then in teams. They've got themselves working on what they want to do. Out and away then comes Rogers, followed very swiftly by Marcus Jensen. I think we're about to see a change in the stops because Erskard and Jurgis are ahead of Williams, who I think may have just sped on pit road.
Oh, yes, he has. And for David Williams, this is the last thing he needs because he has been on that bubble zone here. We talked about it, Johnny. David Williams can't be making mistakes, and he's made one.
Yeah, we don't want that speeding penalty, like we said. You always do it. You always make that kind of mistake, but it's a perfect 2-stop strategy for all these drivers. Lap 14, that's the number you want to come into to make it work. So these drivers pinpoint on that strategy. We'll run this for another 14, 15 laps, but David Williams now on the attack from Yao Vaz. He should stay ahead. Here's Kroenke on screen. Will he pit this time round? Doesn't seem like there's any clear track for Kroenke, so he might have to wait it out. But importantly, if Kroenke waits it out, where will Josh Rogers end up? Quick stop for Josh Rogers. And don't forget as well, the undercut could be worth about 1.5 seconds a lap. Rogers is only 3 or 4 seconds off the lead when he pitted.
Yeah, so let's have a look though on board of Martin Kroenke. Let's see whether he will come on towards pit road this time by, and he does. So, dancing it on towards pit road, you build the speed up and you slow it all the way down. Backham is in as well. What about Gregor Hutu? Hutu is going to stay out by the looks of it, so Hutu takes the lead. Jamie Fluke will stay out as well, Johnny.
Yeah, that's very important right now. So as I said, Kroenke will have to defend the undercut from Rogers. Josh Rogers has been very smart with his strategy. He's been very quick this lap and we're fully deploying ERS right now. I don't think he's going to end up ahead of these drivers depending on how quick the stop is. Rogers is across the start-finish line now through the exit of La Source. Where will Rogers be? There he is in the background. The Coanda drivers. Perfect strategy. They stay ahead.
Yeah, so one question though, Jake, was that reactive or was that what they wanted to do for Coanda?
Well, we saw how they sort of guinea-pigged with their 3 drives in front. I think they wanted to make that call and they saw Rogers come in. Okay, now's the time we have to make that decision. I'm interested now on how Gregor Hutu's going to do this race because it's 2-stop now from Coanda. Hutu's going to be the bold driver and go on the 1-stop. And let's not forget, he only lost 5 seconds on that opening stint compared to Kroenke and Backham. I think Hutu's in this one for the victory.
I think Hutu's on a 1-stopper right now. Johnny, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, if you can pit lap 16, you can make a 1-stop work for sure. Because remember, the car will be on lighter fuel load, so in the race, you just have to drive so carefully around corners like these, through curb pull where you don't want to ruin the left-hand side tire. So yeah, I mean, he could be. And think about it now, Kroenke is about 18 seconds off Hutu. If we look at the relative gaps per sector, let's hopefully Hutu continues. I think he could prove a challenge here for these drivers. And don't forget, he'll pit on the 1-stop, and for about 10 laps, he'll be quicker than the 2-stoppers. No, he comes in. Why, Gregor? Oh, he had a chance to hopefully pull a surprise this race.
That could have been the talking point of this race, and one of the good talking points of the season there, Johnny. Regardless of De Jong, I actually think, and I'm going to be off coof here, I think that red line were planning to do a 1-stop, but because De Jong is not in the picture, they switched over to a 2-stopper.
Yeah, well, you never know. Well, this could still be a 1-stop. I did say that you can pull it off from lap 16. Any earlier is impossible. Lap 16 is optimistic, but it's possible. So who knows what will happen here. Gregor Hutu, though, ends up behind Marcus Jensen. There's Marcus Jensen ahead on screen. Where's Tommy Erskard, though? He's way too far behind, I think. So he'll remain ahead of Tommy Erskard. But Hutu now, more importantly, should stay ahead, of course, of Jamie Fluke, but he's behind the Burst eSport drivers.
Yeah, so the good thing, though, for Hutu, Jake, is that he is 1.9 behind Jensen. That means clean air.
It does. It means he can use those tyres and have a fresh attack out on track. Fluke has stayed out on circuit, as has Umeshima, as has Partington. They are the only 3 drivers at the moment who are in a relative position to go out there and make something happen on a one-stop strategy. But Hutu does have that clean air that he can go out there and attack and close back down to Marcus Jensen, who will be using the fresh rubber on that very, very quick opening stint car that we see from Burst Esports. I think that Hutu wants to attack. He knows he has to attack, but if he can convert this to a one-stop, he will be conserving those tyres and he won't be gaining much in these opening laps.
Yeah, indeed. So of course, we've also got the iRacing Petit Le Mans going on right now. We're going to see if Fluke, Umeshima and Partington will come on towards pit road this time before we do anything else. And the answer is going to be no, not for Fluke. No, not for Umeshima. And no, not for Partington. So let's go and check in with Paul Smith, Bo Albert in terms of the iRacing Petit Le Mans. Well, we've got a battle going on then in terms of the iRacing Petit Le Mans. And once again, Jake, it is Pure Racing Team out at the front, looking to do a clean sweep of 2018. However, Race Clutches had a miserable race here today, but an Eric Andre said to me yesterday, we are going to win at the Petit Le Mans.
He did. He was very, very confident. He had the fastest time in qualifying, which he was jumping up and down like a giddy schoolchild about. He was so excited that he got pole position. But I think that Pure Racing Team, just to go off of that, this will be down as one of the greatest achievements in sim racing. If you can take not only Daytona, Le Mans, we're talking Spa, and also 24 Hours of Nürburgring, we're talking Sebring. And we're also talking Bathurst and this as well. My goodness, that would be absolutely sensational work from what they are able to do. Back to this race though, Will. I'm a little bit concerned at the moment for a certain Mr. Mitchell de Jong, because he's in 20th position right now. That will get him about 20 points come the end of this race. And we know it's 100 for a victory. If Martin Kroenke goes out and wins this one, I put this as title done. Kroenke's the champion.
Yeah, and Johnny, we are going to have to get a team of stat guys, probably you, to actually do the maths over the course of this event, because as it stands right now, Mitchell de Jong is down in P number 20. To get himself into P number 10, he will need to basically gain about a minute and a half. Now, I would say de Jong will try and run this race without a pit stop, but even then, he's going to be clinging on.
Yeah, he's already clinging on now. I mean, I think he probably knows inside his head this championship is over. I mean, you can be positive and hope for a miracle and hope that something goes wrong for Martin, but I mean, there's nothing else he can do. Catching Mogarfilio is almost going to be impossible. 52 seconds up the road, that's not going to happen.
Oh,
he's going to stay clean.
Look at Kroenke.
What's up, Jake?
Oh my goodness, they are so close. They had a little bit of issues trying to get around Michael Partington. Kroenke goes around the outside. Backham gets the position as well. Kroenke's under threat from Mac.
Well, this will be up the hill then, and this is going to be a true test of his Backham going to make a move here. We're on board with Mac Backham into what? No, he's not going to do anything. He's not going to do anything. Let's get ourselves a replay instead. As here we are. This is in towards La Source. Jake, talk us through it.
Well, I just caught the rear end of that sort of move, and Michael Partington, who is on that alternative strategy, it was a good move from Kroenke coming out to the exit. Matt Backham has been closing down. He has been the fastest man out on track on those fresh tyres, but it had to be around the outside from Martin Kroenke. Not what he likes doing, but then all of a sudden Matt Backham arrives on the scene just behind and actually has to slightly check up a bit because he doesn't know how much acceleration is on those old tyres for Michael Partington, who is now being swarmed by Josh Rogers. Down to the inside at Fania he goes and takes the position away.
Well, and that's a big thing for Rogers because that actually helped him quite a bit as well here, Johnny, because now the gap between Rogers and Backham is down to 1.7 seconds. That's a big lifeline right now for Burst Esports because if there's any more issues for Coanda, they can actually try and capitalize on that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that will come into fray for sure. Is Rogers through pool on. Looking at the replay of this, this has been an easy move. You can see Partington's tires are shot, and I think it's the same case for Kazuki Mishima. Kroenke will make up that position as Umashima heads to the pits. Umashima's tires could not last any further. I think Fluke, this will be the last lap for him on this set of tires. He definitely doesn't want to waste any time being passed by Martin Kroenke for sure, and Fluke does not want to be undercut by this man, Kazuki Mishima, who was only a few seconds off the race lead and started this race in P20. Incredible.
Yeah, Kazuki Umashima being like Kazuki Umashima. Fantastic as ever. 4.1 seconds. Out and away he will come. Let's turn our attention over to Jamie Fluke right now as he has got himself traffic ahead of him. Actually, no, he's got drivers behind. That's what I actually mean. He's got drivers behind him right now. But for Jamie Fluke, he is really holding on. And Apex Racing UK, Jake, coming into this event, miserable in qualifying apart from one driver. And Fluke has somehow managed to hold that team's performance in this race together single-handedly.
Yeah, he has, and it really has been single-handedly because both Berryman and Higeland are out, and you look at Kevin Ellis Jr. in 18th position. That's not been the race that he's quite wanted either. So Jamie Fluke has really turned up, has had a very strong showing, has probably been the best of the one-stoppers here today. And, well, when he dives down onto the lane, he will give back Martin Kroenke the race lead. But what will be very telling is where Jamie Fluke comes out in comparison, because I still put him to gain some time on the fresh tyres. Where he'll pop out, I think he's in a top 5 scrap wheel.
It will be very interesting. Jamie Fluke, 20 laps then into a stint, in towards the bus stop chicane. He will come, and he stays out another lap, Johnny.
Wow. So let's see if Martin should get past for sure. Hopefully he gets it done at least the Kemmel Straight for Fluke's case, because you don't want to lose too much time here. Kroenke will be straight on the traction. Look at the mad scramble of drivers behind in that shot. Jamie Fluke is on the hunt right now. Oh, he's being hunted, excuse me, by the drivers behind. Kroenke up the hill. DRS will be available. Fully deploying ERS. Fluke will just be a sitting duck. Will probably save all his power, although he is full speed right now. This won't be an easy move for Martin. He's going to sail up the inside, and Fluke has to concede.
Martin Kroenke moves back to the top of the timing stand. The second driver in line is, third driver in line is Mac Backham. The fourth driver in line is actually, I believe, the driver of Mitchell de Jong. Indeed, yes, he is. As Backham tried to make a bit of a move there over Jamie Fluke in towards Rivage. And he's going to try and do exactly the same again in towards Brewer. Don't do this, Backham! Oh, my word, he managed to make it work, Jake.
Well, Matt Backham does not listen to your advice, Will. He makes moves where Matt Backham says, and Mack attack in full force as he went down the inside at Pouon to make the move to desperately stay within a second of Martin Kroenke in front. Not only that, to keep Josh Rogers at bay by a second and a half at the moment, now looking towards 2 seconds, as Rogers will now pick up the slipstream and the draft and the ERS, and he may get a bit of help as well. But look at this, Rogers pretty much tucked underneath through Blanchemont, should be easy, runs a little bit wide though, looks to the inside. This is going to be bread and butter basics. It will be. He's down the inside, he takes the position, and Fluke, there's your cue onto pit road.
Yeah. Oh my word, so much going on right now, but Jamie Fluke, as we say, is on towards the lane right now, so he is finally in, Johnny. 22 laps, exactly halfway distance, but you're going to say that's probably about 2-3 laps too late.
It is. Kazumashima will get ahead. Now, I think Fluke will be able to get back past based on fresher rubber. That's the only advantage he'll have. Brakes a little diagonally in his pit box. Discussed that a lot this season. Good exit here right now. Flicks onto second gear. That's the quickest way out of the pit lane. Some drivers like to flick between second and third. There's Umashima sailing past. So Kazuki Umashima there already ahead. Ricardo Orozco ahead. David Williams is the Coanda driver ahead. But have a look at this. Yao Vaz could make a move here on Jamie Fluke, depending on whether or not he has DRS. It could be an optimistic overtake. Jamie Fluke has DRS to defend as well. No slipstream up ahead, of course. Fluke will remain ahead. And that is Jamie Fluke's race so far on the one stop. Pits at the 50% distance mark, the latest you want to go.
We are, of course, now almost at the halfway point of this event, and you can, of course, get social with us. Use the @Twitter RaceSpot TV, or @RaceSpot TV on Twitter even, /RaceSpot TV on Facebook. Let us know what's going on in your world. And of course, you can also subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network now on YouTube. Just search the iRacing Esports Network. We are at the halfway point of this event. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more after this. We'll take you RaceSpot TV side by side. The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
What are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
Oh, there we go! This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Kroenke! Down to the inside, and Fuji's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, then to the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. We did a little break there to work out the situation with Martin Kroenke, but first, let's ride a lap on board him with Racesport TV Fan Immersion. So that is Martin Kroenke. He is leading the way. However, just behind him, we have got ourselves Gregor Hutu, who is running in the 4th position right now. He's got Josh Rogers just ahead. And while Johnny Rogers is into, Hutu even, is into DRS range.
Yeah, Rogers is trying to maximize the track width. Hutu over the bump, nice and stable there. Not often the case, as we saw with Peter Berryman on lap 5 of this race. Hutu up to almost 350 kilometers an hour. So really tried hard to make the pass here on Josh Rogers. Don't forget, Hutu's only less than 5 seconds away from the race lead, so he certainly has the pace. If he can get past Josh soon enough, he may be trying to reel in the Coanda duo of Kroenke and Backham.
And we've got breaking news. We missed it. David Williams is out of this event. And this one looks to be down at Air Rouge as well. Radior up the hill. Oh! Hard into, and that's what we normally expect to see, Johnny. Going into the right-hand side barrier first, then the left-hand side. Williams is out of this event.
Common mistake you'll see. A lot of drivers trying to straight line Eau Rouge. It's not easy. There's a bump right there. And they're in the middle of Eau Rouge, and yeah, he could feel it. That's something he felt through the wheel. He tried to just make the slight correction. You can get away with it. And look at that, almost lucky not to get collected by traffic coming through. So lucky it was a sole incident for David Williams, but unlucky because he's out of the race.
And you've also noticed that Jensen's made a mistake. Talk us through that.
So yeah, Jensen made a mistake all the way back at lap 20. That's what allowed Gregor Hutu through. And that was at Les Combes. Jensen just going deep into the braking zone.
Hutu, meanwhile, has closed it down to within about 0.2 of a second here, Jake. On the exit of La Source, down the hill, they'll come again. This is Hutu's best opportunity to move in towards a podium position.
Oh, you bet it is, Will. Look how close he is. Tucked up underneath, up through Eau Rouge. Now Radion, and trying to put that power down, and he does, and he is right in the wheelhouse to make it happen. Rogers, uber defensive early, but look at the overspeed from Gregor Hutu. This is going to be done before they even reach the braking zone, and that is as easy as it happens. Gregor Hutu now up into 3rd position, and crucially, going quicker than Kroenke and Backham in front. This is going to mean that Hutu may just be in the wheelhouse to make something happen here. He's got himself about 18 seconds, Will, if they make a stop. So if Hutu converts to a 1-stop, and as we thought, he was very, very close to doing so, if Hutu can convert to that 1-stop, he's right there. If not, he'll probably be going for the overcut, as he has done so many times this season.
We have had our first set of second pit stops get underway. And this is Kevin Ellis Jr., Ilka Happala, and Ricardo Orozco all coming on towards pit road. Johnny, they were early the first time, but they should now be good to go towards the end of the event.
Yeah, even lap 27's earlier than my predictions. I did think lap 28 was when the earliest final stop would be for those two-stop runners. So Ellis Jr. going -1 on what I was basing off of that strategy, but I haven't spoken about him much, Kevin Ellis Jr. The past couple of races at least. I think these 1 week practices between events, this is our third race in a back-to-back-to-back. It's really killed some of these drivers. That's why we see some of these shuffled grids, especially at Suzuka, especially around here at Spa. Different drivers fluctuating from position to position.
And it's also why, Jake, we're seeing Coanda and Team Redline really dominate in terms of race pace, because yes, a qualifying pace is good. However, when you get into the race itself, it is the long-term established teams who have always found a way and have got the manpower behind the scenes who can make it work. And I'm just having a look at Gregor Hutu, by the way, right now. He is on course, not for third place in this race, but for second place. Now, I've got to just open up the question, is Martin Kroenke's championship winning drive going to be faulted by the fact that Hutu gets enough points to bring it to the last round of the championship?
Well, if Gregor Hutu gets 100 points, that could change everything, because Kroenke would lose 20, but I still think that Gregor's too far behind. I would more be concerned of how many points could Hutu take away to allow De Jong a chance, a slim chance at that, at Circuit of the Americas. The answer would be, it would be marginal and probably too close to call at this stage. I think that Gregor Hutu has the ability to change something. If not, maybe even someone like Umashima, who's still ahead of Josh Rogers at this stage, who has just come in for a second stop.
Indeed so. So there we are, having a look at Gregor Hutu right now. He is closing down Matt Backham, and well, Johnny, he is closing him down at a rate of knots right now. He's done it by basically 8 tenths of a second over the last 3 laps in this event. The gap is 2.5 right now, but as they head themselves in towards the bus stop chicane, Matt Backham is all of a sudden on alert.
Yeah, that's true. So Rogers now has already undercut Gregor Hutu, but Gregor's stretching out the stint. And don't forget, after he passed Josh Rogers, he would be in ERS saving mode. So that's why his lap times, after he passed Rogers, he's lost about 3 tenths a lap because, you know, there's no DRS anymore. There's no more full ERS deployment. He just has to save a bit of energy for now. Go on to the attack to Matt Backham. Do use all the energy on this in-lap and out-lap. Matt Backham could be kept honest here. They have to keep an eye on Josh Rogers, so we'll see.
Hutu still on board of him. Let's have a look at the trachometer then as he comes past towards the end of the straight. And he's gaining there, Johnny. He's saving a little bit. Yeah. But he's also 15 kilometers an hour faster when he's in the draft. So that shows the performance difference in the low downforce setup compared to the medium to high.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. So the low downforce setup there for Hutu working really well. We see drivers in the pit lane here. Some Orion race team cars, the likes of Dion Vergis, always iconic Dion Vergis with his orange livery and helmet, the orange number. But as we said for Hutu, like at the end of the straight, 336, you saw the number dip during the braking zone. So he let go of the ERS button. I think he'd be fine now. You just need maybe a lap to go back to normal conditions. That's all you need. You don't need to be saving for too many laps, but he definitely is quicker towards the end of stints, and we saw this well. We saw this at Suzuka. We saw this at the Nürburgring the round before, where he ended up winning the race. He is very quick when the Pirelli rubber comes down to the final stages of its life. He manages this tire and this tire set really well.
Okay, gap between Hutu and Kroenke is 4.3 seconds. Jake, is that a gap that Hutu can close?
Yes, I think it would be. It would need a lot of help, but I think it's something that would. In comes Matt Backham, though, to do a second stop. Crucially, Kroenke is staying out. The reason why is that he needs to cover Mac. Not only Mac, he's got to cover Gregor as well in this situation, and Kroenke knows it. He knows he needs a victory. He does not know when he needs to come on the lane, but crucially, the points gap as things stands between Hutu and Kroenke. If Hutu finishes first, Kroenke second, 110 points. Not enough for the championship to stay alive for Gregor.
Yeah, so long as Martin Kroenke finishes in second place, we are predicting, and we say predicting because of the fact that we have got to wait for the official results to come through, that Martin Kroenke will be champion. Who said ooh?
Oh, sorry, no. Josh Rogers, I was speaking about him possibly undercutting Mac Backham. Rogers could find himself ahead here, and this would be for effective P2. Good overtake for Rogers here. Look at Backham, though. Traffic up ahead. That's his teammate trying to aid him with some slipstream. But Rogers in P2 in the braking zone. It all works out well with the undercut here for Josh Rogers.
Fantastic there by Josh Rogers and Burst eSports. They managed to keep this one going over the course of the event. And let's have a look again at the replay on board. Johnny, talk us through it.
Rogers now up the hill. Remember, he's got momentum. His tyres up to temperature. And, of course, as well, the interesting point here, Matt Backham, look at that, doesn't flick on DRS. His teammate aided him there and gave him some DRS. So I don't know if Mac pressed the button a bit too early before the zone and didn't know that was on. But you'd see your cockpit. There should be 4 lights on the left-hand side, 4 green lights. And, yeah, just a mistake there for Mac Backham. The DRS could have made the difference, but look at the traffic now for Josh Rogers. This is a humongous train up ahead. Jamie Fluke on the one-stop. Up ahead of Jamie's Kazuki Umeshima, who's up ahead on the one-stop as well. They have to make their way past ASAP. Kroenke in the pits. This is going to be a mad scramble as Rogers. There's no room up the inside at Blanchimon.
And the whole thing means right now, Jake, is that all of a sudden Kroenke has got a bit more clean air because they're all dicing up behind him. He's on towards pit road. Fluke, Rogers, all going at it right now. Rogers is past and roll. Fluke's turned around.
Yeah, by Matt Backham of all people as well, who's losing out in all of this. Out comes Martin Kroenke. Remember, Umeshima is in this race battling, and crucially, look at that. Kronke's got the gap, but the overspeed is going to be there now for Umeshima and for Rogers. And Rogers, with nothing to lose in this situation, knows he needs something. Hutu is at the back of all of this and will not be happy at that fact. But all of a sudden, Josh Rogers is charging for a maiden victory against the 2-time reigning champion who wants to secure it here today. Party, upset, this is a fantastic race.
Well, as we go on board of Kazuki Umeshima, let's not forget, he's the guy that almost started the world at Canada. For those of you who RaceSpot TV bingo cards, tick that one off of your list. He does go wide, however, and Rogers is through in towards Jackie Ick's corner. Rogers is on the cusp here of winning his first World Championship race, Johnny.
It's possible, but his tyres I don't think will hold up towards the end of this race, and he has to also pass a 2-time world champion, which will make it even tougher. But Kroenke, the spotter's there. He's always got Jorn Jens on his side there behind the scenes at Coanda, and Jorn Jens probably telling him, hey, look, you've got just about half a second. You need to get this pit stop right, and you'll have half a second to the driver behind of Umeshima. They got it spot on. Kroenke remains in the lead, and look at his teammate though, Mac Backham, has lost an immense amount of time. They fell asleep to Josh Rogers, and I spoke about it. I said, once Rogers pits, Mac Backham doesn't need to just worry about Hutu here. He needs to keep an eye on Rogers, and look what's happened.
Yeah, Umeshima did struggle through the final chicane. I wouldn't be surprised if the next time they come up the hill that we see the driver of Mac Backham, so Gregor Hutu, getting close to the rear of Umeshima. There's so much going on here, but I want to turn my attention over to Josh Rogers. He is in the second place. We are not going to get accurate lap times for the next couple of laps here because, I mean, that's just a load of green. But for Josh Rogers here, Jake, this is Burst eSports' chance.
It is their chance, and it would be such a huge chance at that as well, and they know how much they want it, but I wonder if they can do anything about Kroenke. I'm not sure. It has been a fantastic and mature drive, I think, from Josh Rogers. He's known when to push the boat out, and he's pushed that boat out, and he's caught so much salmon that he might as well be feeding however many people when he gets back to the shoreline. But for Rogers, he knows he's not over yet. He's got Matt Backham, who's also on fresher tyres behind by 1 lap, but crucially, how much damage after the contact with Jamie Fluke, who will not be happy about it? The answer is there is some on the front.
There is indeed. My word, what have we got here, Johnny, for the final part of this motor race? Because Martin Kroenke, to win the championship, now basically needs to hold off a charging upcomer in Josh Rogers. You cannot write a better picture in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
This is intense right now. This is an intense finish. I just can't believe it. And I just really wish Mitchell de Jong was in the fray. Who knows what would have happened here right now? Who knows where de Jong would fit into this race? Would he be leading? You know, if he had, you know, we know we didn't get qualifying right, but who knows how the start went. So, oh, wow. Just, yeah, what a great end. Well, this has been a phenomenal season, I have to say. And so far, it continues again today, even if the championship might be wrapped up at the end of the day.
So, Josh Rogers comes past start-finish line 1.6 seconds back. Let's have a look at the lap gaps. Last time by, Jake, he was 18 one-thousandths of a second back. Rogers, if he's going to try and go for the lead, needs to basically gain about 0.2 of a second lap. The only issue is there's a Jaws behind. That Jaws is Matt Backham, and yes, I'm continuing your fishing references.
Yes, and that certain Jaws has some teeth that are very, very sharp and took 1/10 of a second's chunk out of Josh Rogers, and he knows it. Rogers may have to defend. Mack is on full attack. He wanted to prove that he was the fastest. He almost had the chance earlier on in this race. I think Mack has been the fastest one today out of anybody. He just hasn't had the platform to show it. I do want to look behind though, Will, because Marcus Jensen is now attacking Kazuki Umeshima for 5th position. This one should be easy, but Mitchell de Jong is not being a help for Jensen at the moment.
Yes, and also for Marcus Jensen, he's just got to think about the big picture as well in terms of that Burst eSports car. I'm going to talk about this more in the next race, about what the drivers who get finishes in the top 10 actually receive in terms of the championship positions and prizes. But Jensen, I mean, Umeshima, he's kind of doing that falling off the cliff phase right now, Johnny.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Tyres not at their best. Is Jensen right now trying to make his way past Umeshima, like we said. Umeshima, I really thought the one stop would work, but no, as Jensen goes off the racetrack, that'll happen at Blanchimont. No way past here, up the inside. Umeshima had such a substantial race. For those who might be just tuning in, he did start this race from P20. So to almost lead a lap in this race is just remarkable. Here's Jensen up the inside. He's going to brake very deep through this corner. Opens up the line. Should have better traction than Umeshima. Just a bit gentle on the throttle, Marcus Jensen, this time round.
Jensen down the hill. Let's stay on board of him. Let's put up the speedometer as well. Look, listen to you. It's in kilometers an hour now. Be happy as they head themselves down the Camel straightaway towards... Oh, that's going to be easy. Too easy, Johnny, in towards Lecom.
Yeah, plenty of speed. Saved all his power up to make one easy pass there on Umeshima. And you use that sort of what you have in IndyCar, like a push to pass. You sort of have a manual ERS deployment button here. I don't think any of these drivers will be using the automatic deployment. And even if you do use the automatic deployment, you still have a manual override. So there's plenty of options available to the drivers out here today. But great setup today by Burst eSport, and great driver talent makes for a great combination. You can see Rogers less than 2 seconds off a possible race win. Marcus Jensen's been strong all day as well. This has been such a great team. Looking forward to how these guys grow and prosper in the future.
Yeah, so of course you have still got the Petit Le Mans going on here on the iRacing eSports Network. Let's try to check in with Paul Smith and Bo Albert as they continue their coverage here on the iRacing eSports Network as well.
We saw that earlier in the race as well, that like when the Audi touches the grass, it's just gone completely, and there is no coming back from it. He's fell victim to that. Unfortunately for him, a concrete wall was right there to meet him at the end of it.
Geodesic Racing, David Weiss has been on pit road, back up and running now. So that was from 5th place for Geodesic, and they're going to come out just behind that Wyvern Racing car. Nick Rowland now behind the wheel. So Cyandra handed over the reins to Nick Rowland there. Good friend Nick Rowland has been involved with eSport TV in the past. So always good to see him racing there. Still battling going on in your GTEs as Redface and Simatop from Prototypes. They were both battling on track. They're both out to pit road at the same time. So it's going to be a battle of the pit crews and a battle of pit stops. But at the moment, you're looking at that GTE battle, and well, Christopher Mavano just losing out a little bit because of lap traffic. Race clutch and Eric Andre, your race leader, onto pit road as well here. And I'm delighted to say welcome to the commentary box, Corey Ott. Welcome along.
Hello. Yeah, coming to help guys today, but looks like we've had an interesting race so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've been actually driving so far today. Just what's been your feelings of how this race and how this track has been producing the racing for you?
Oh well, for us, we've sadly fell victim to traffic at the moment as Redface comes out with GD3 just nearly cutting him off. But yeah, we fell victim to either wrong decisions by traffic or by ourselves, and yeah, sadly I had to end my second stint very early. But no, the racing's been very well actually. It's as the race progresses and with the way the track is, it's producing sort of one-line racing around most of the circuit, except for the back straight, and also turn 10 is actually a really good spot to get passes done, whether it be your own class or lapping other cars. So at the moment, I think the racing's a bit, a little bit stale, possibly due to the fact that, everyone's trying to get their grip in before possibly the mad rush between hours 8 and 10.
Absolutely. Well, we've just seen Fabrice Cornelis now coming onto pit road from the race lead. He inherited the race lead when an Eric Andre came on pit road. So we'll see. Well, he does a better job of reaching his pit box this time, and he'll be getting fuel and tyres. I expect him to stay in that car as well. So there's going to be no driver change for Fabrice here, and we'll keep an eye. Where is an Eric Andre? He's coming just around that final corner now. And Fabrice waiting for that fuel, waiting for it to get in and then to pull away. It's a pretty much similar pit stop time between the two of them. Fabrice just pulling away now from his pit stall. Out he comes, and he's going to be around 2.5 seconds behind an Eric Andre. So he's caught up about a second overall in that pit stop phase because of his in-lap compared to
that's enough, shall we say that, Jake, from Paul, etc. right now. But there's some fantastic race going on in the iRacing Petit Le Mans.
There is a fantastic race going on, Will, but we've just seen the move happen. Josh Rogers has lost the position to Mac Backham. It was a fantastic move around the outside at Les Coon, and it was one where Rogers was always fighting against the grip, didn't have enough to hold it on the second part of the apex, and as such, Backham now into second, which gives Kroenke a nice Backham-shaped blanket for his championship.
Yeah. That essentially will mean that we are going to predict at the end of this event that Martin Kroenke will win his third iRacing World Championship. And well, winning 3 in a row as well, Jake. And of course, winning 1 is special. Hugo Ruiz did that back in 2011. But in terms of what happened since, it was dominance from Gregor Hooter in 2012, 13, 14, 15. And then all of a sudden, and we saw this sign, actually, let's say that, in 2015, of Martin Kroenke getting there because the year before, he beat Gregor Hooter in a league race in what I call his best performance of all time. 2015, he was the best driver in the last third of the series. 2016, he was great, won the championship. 2017, unstoppable. And 2018, I mean, he's not had the dominance of last year, but he's still been pretty darn good.
Well, no, he hasn't had the dominance, and I definitely think that it has been a much tougher season because more names have come up to the fold. Hootu has returned. We've seen Mitchell de Jong put a full season's worth of effort in and push him to the brink. But I think that what Martin Kroenke has proven is that, okay, form isn't something that's permanent, isn't something that stays. Class, though, is permanent, and Martin Kroenke right now in that McLaren MP4-30 is world-class and unstoppable. Here's Gregor Hootu, though. He wants a podium out of this. Rogers is starting to fade on the tyres, and here comes the 5-time champion looking to school the young whippersnapper.
Yeah, and Johnny, as they head themselves down the hill once again, Gregor Hootu is looking unstoppable right now. Hootu looking for a podium up the hill, and Rogers will not be able to defend.
Yeah, Hootu will save up all his DRS for sure here. He'll have a big flap of DRS to open. There he is, Rogers on the defensive, but Hootu, 354 kilometers an hour, and the Team Redline driver should hopefully find his way into the podium spots. He has to battle around the outside of Josh Rogers, but the sitting duck is the Australian, and he falls down. to P4 at the end of it.
But you cannot take anything away from Josh Rogers. He done a fantastic race today. As past Gerkes and Kazuki Umeshima just swapped positions as well. But I want to focus here on the driver of Josh Rogers for a moment here, Johnny, because, I mean, he's done a fantastic season. We've got one more round to go. But Rogers is, in my opinion, the standout driver of the season. Simple as that.
He's one of. I mean, everyone's going to be different of opinion for sure. And a champion, of course, will always have to win that. But we've seen better from Martin Kroenke, ironically. He's going to win a championship. And this isn't the best Martin Kroenke we've seen. So, yeah, I mean, Rogers has been quick out there. I don't want to take anything away from Peter Berryman, who's been strong. Kevin Ellis Jr. has just been on a run of bad form lately. You know, Kevin Ellis Jr. is 6th in the championship. Yeah, he's been insanely quick. He's ahead of Josh Rogers too. So there's a lot of drivers you can say in that fray. Josh Rogers has been so impressive. I have to say, going back to the race now. So Hutu has a shot here at possibly P2 on Mac Backham. Possibly race victory on Kroenke. It'd be very optimistic, but you know, we never know. There's only a few laps remaining in this event.
Where's the car is done to when you need it?
I don't know. Possibly, maybe he's watching from the stands at Lake Com. We'll see if iRacing's put his little model there somewhere in the crowd.
Gap between Gregor Hutu and Martin Kroenke is 2.9 seconds. Jake, we have got ourselves 5 laps to go. Can Hutu do it?
Well, Kroenke 1 second slower last time by. There was a mistake from the two-time world champion. Nerves may be starting to get to the German, so Hutu may want to spoil a party. Mac will have to act as rear gunner. I don't think he'll take this one away from Martin, but this is something that Gregor wants to do. Ever since the torch was passed at Silverstone, when he ran out of fuel 2 seasons ago and the championship went to Martin for the first time, he has had second helpings ever since. Gregor wants to prove he is more than just that he can battle it out and make it happen. Where better than to try and prolong a championship on race further?
Well, and what that will need is for Hutu to win this motor race. But the thing is, as well, is maybe Kroenke is just putting it into cruise control, getting himself ready, knowing the fact he doesn't need to push anymore here today. And that is the mark of a true champion, because it doesn't matter what you do in terms of fastest laps. It's a case of, do you finish first and you finish it cleanly? Yes, Kroenke's last lap times have not been good. I mean, let's have a look at these right now on the screen. Last time by, he was a second slower. This time by, 6 tenths slower. And when you talk about the back marker and the kind of like holding pen of Matt Backham, that will be really important in the last 4 laps of this event.
I can't see why Martin would be any slower. Look at the gaps there. 9 tenths, 6 tenths compared to Matt Backham and P2, but unless he's just tried to save the tires or get some power back in the ERS, I can't see any other reason why he'd lose time. There were no evident mistakes. Looking back behind the scenes, watching Kroenke's last lap, no traffic as well. Maybe he's possibly helping Mac Backham with some defensive driving here, maybe giving him DRS, but at the same time, Mac will have some dirty air at the same time. So who knows what's going to happen here towards the end of this race.
I was going to say, bring him within 1 second, Johnny. You give the opportunity for Matt Backham to get that DRS, and all of a sudden, that might help Backham stave off Gregor Hutu a little bit.
Yeah, the DRS, exactly. I mean, it will help you maybe a few tenths per lap, 3 or 4 tenths on each straight, but towards the end of this event now, I mean, there's only a few laps remaining. You won't need to worry about saving ERS. You'll be trying to drain the battery back down to 0%. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but definitely some Coanda teamwork going on for sure, it seems like it.
Jake, if I had to say, have I ever indeed, in this event again, I'm probably going to have to quit commentary. So, what's your thoughts right now?
Well, this could be one of the biggest double-edged swords for Martin Kroenke if this is a DRS stave barrier, because Mac Backham said, with about 4 rounds to go, I want a victory. I don't care about these guys. I want a victory. I wonder whether Mac would disobey quote-unquote team orders to go and get his victory and take it away. Now Gregor Hutu is within 1 second of Mac Backham. Backham was just on the cusp of DRS. Hutu's coming here. Hutu could do the Jenson Button Canada 2011, take them both with a few laps to go.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that is a Didier Pironi mountains to San Marino by any stretch of the imagination. This is not the time to go and get a race victory if you're a Anderson Sports, because, you know, Franke needs this for a championship. But Hutu, he is hanging on here, Johnny, and this is Hutu's fighting spirit. He is going to go out with a bang with less than 5 laps to go in this event.
Well, we saw on his steering wheel there on the onboard shot, 4 green lights on, DRS engaged. He is in DRS zone of the Dutch driver, Mac Backham, up ahead. So we could see a move here by Gregor Hutu, the 5-time world champion. He's still got it. He definitely does. Don't forget the Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago. We could see another Gregor Hutu victory here, but of course, we mustn't forget Martin Kroenke, in the meantime, regardless of where he finishes in this top 3, is on a pursuit towards the 3rd championship, Will.
But don't forget as well here, Johnny, it's one thing passing Matt Backham, it's another thing getting past Matt Backham and Martin Kroenke in 3 laps.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd be counting on not only mistakes, but hopefully trying to get past them on straights. You don't want to be going through side by side through a corner sequence like this at Blanchimont. Here's that difficult section where, unless you do something shady and turn off shadows or everything, it's almost impossible to see a brake marker through the final corner. Here they go across the main straight. DRS flap open for Gregor Hutu, the Finnish driver. Etches closer here on the exit of La Source, hopefully 1.4 seconds across the finish line, separating your top 3.
Well, okay, Jack, I want to talk to you about the history between Backham and Hutu as they come down with less than 3 laps to go right now. The gap is less than half a second. Backham is going to race Hutu. That means they might go side by side for 3 or 4 corners. That is all that Martin Kroenke needs.
It's all Martin Kroenke needs. You're absolutely right. You look back to Indianapolis last year, the contact which gave Mac Backham a 1-race suspension. 1 race back, he goes to Suzuka. They make contact again as Hutu angles a line to the inside to get into the mirrors of Mac Backham. And you talk about how in the start of this season, Gregor Hutu could not find himself off of Coanda cars to save his life. Hutu knows if he wants to get past and get more positions, he's got to make the move now, because if he has to wait a lap to make this happen, that's it, race over. Can't catch Kroenke.
Yeah, and last time by, Gregor Hutu did a 1:47.799. That was only 4 tenths slower than his fastest lap of the race so far. Through Fogna, they come towards 701, 702 for the 3rd to last time here, Johnny. There's so many storylines that can happen in the last 3 laps of this event. I have no idea how this is going to pan out.
Yeah, Backham had the better line through Stavolo, so you're unsure about what's going on so far. It looks like Backham will stay ahead, but through Blanchimont, Hutu with the slipstream, better power, using all of that push to pass from the energy recovery system across the main straight. Both have DRS here. There'll be 2 to go as they cross the line. There at updates at the top left-hand side of the screen. Very close. Backham, better exit out of this corner. Hutu went a bit too hot, and that could cost him a potential chance at overtaking Will.
Yeah, they come down the hill. The gap has gone up to 4 tenths of a second. That means that Hutu is not going to be anywhere near close enough unless he's got ERS. DRS working perfectly for him, but also Backham had DRS that time by, and Hutu, he tries it down the inside, Jake, cannot do a thing.
No, he was too far back, and anything even closer to Mac Backham there would have been suicidal at best there and deliberate at worst. So now he's stuck for potentially another lap. But crucially, Backham's catching Kroenke as well. Kroenke has not got the pace here to stave off Backham, who's having to run the laps of his life at this stage, Will, just to keep Gregor Hutu behind. This is not over. Backham will get closer to Kroenke more and more. Kroenke will start sweating. My goodness, the championship could be done here. We've seen greats win championships here, the likes of Michael Schumacher, for example. But this, for a German like Kroenke, if he can stave off these 2, this would be a feat even greater than what Schumacher could ever do at Spa.
Well, but the thing is here, Johnny, is that even if Kroenke doesn't win the championship here today, he basically needs to show up in a couple of weeks' time at Circuit of the Americas and he will be champion. So he's not that worried just yet, but the nerves always kick in as we almost enter the final lap of this motor race.
Well, Kronke's done everything he can. Look how hot Hutu goes into the final corner and almost outbrakes himself. That's going to cost him. Yeah, Gregor's trying to just push a little bit too hard. I think he knows that the reason why Hutu's pushing so hard is you can tell he's not just going for P2. He's going for the race victory. It's a bit too late. He's gone hot into different corners. He's mucked up his lines. Second lap in a row. He's made a mistake at La Source. Oh, he's almost given up a chance at P2 away. But you have to, you can't take it away from Gregor Hutu. He went full on for a race victory. He had nothing to lose.
Well, there was a time back in the Glacier TV days when Gregor Hutu was held off even for an entire race by Martin Kroenke. And that is the time that I said that Martin Kroenke would be a future world champion in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Ever since then, Martin Kroenke has continued to grow. And I will say, the one thing that really changed him was when they moved from 380 Gaming to Koala Sim Sports en masse. Because ever since then, Martin Kroenke has been one of the most successful drivers in one team. He's not won every single event this year. He's struggled at times and he's had to resist composition as Gregor Hutu tries desperation mode now for Hutu as he tries to close up to Matt Backham in the final couple of corners of this event. Matt Backham himself has had a fantastic season. He has done everything he could have done to try and get himself into the championship picture. But 2018 has not been his year. 2018 has not been Gregor Hutu's year. Despite it being the last chance for, oh my word, have we just seen Matt Backham overtake Martin Kroenke on the final lap of the motor race? We have! Matt Backham takes the victory, Hutu second, Gregor Hutu in second place. What have we just seen? Martin Kroenke in third, and the title will go down to Kota. My word! It's Silverstone all over again. We're doing it. We're getting ready to crown a champion. And all of a sudden, Martin Kroenke, does he run out of fuel? I don't know here. We're going to have another look. I do not know what I have just seen. Silverstone a couple of years ago was the craziest finish I've ever seen to a World Championship Series race until today. And I'm just having a look. He doesn't... what did Martin Kroenke even do there, Jake?
I think he was out. I honestly think he was out. I haven't seen anything like this before. He was struggling to get the power on. I don't think he was out. Maybe he was wanting to give Matt Backham the victory because he was quicker, because he still had the championship. Oh my goodness, Martin. I think we have just seen the defining moment of the season. I have no idea what Kroenke's done. We'll have to ask him for an interview. But Gregor saw an opportunity, sent one down to the inside on the final corner. And I think that Kroenke wanted to give the victory, potentially. Maybe not second. But this title's alive, Will. And De Jong has been given a lifeline here. A slim lifeline, but a lifeline at Circuit of the Americas.
Johnny, I mean, I'm having a look at the onboard. I'm having a look at the rev counter. He doesn't, it's Indianapolis with Schumacher and Barrichello 2002 gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't run out of fuel because he backed off the throttle. As soon as Mac was side by side or ahead of him, he straight away went back to the throttle. So you knew that Kroenke was giving the victory to Mac Backham. So Mac Backham will get his third career victory here today. But Kroenke, the funniest part of this all is Gregor Hutu. Gregor Hutu just slotted himself and spoiled the party for the Coanda drivers. I just love that move from Gregor Hutu there. Just it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. You'll see Gregor Hutu pop up as, well, this is an onboard from Mac Backham, so you won't, but one of the best moments in this World Championship in terms of hilariousness and just surprise.
I'm speechless. I'm absolutely speechless. I mean, that was, oh my goodness, what have we just seen there? I mean, Let's have a look on board of Gregor Hutu for a minute. Let's give you RaceSport TV fan immersion for a minute. Okay, so having had a look at it again, I mean, Johnny, in my opinion, it's almost as if that Kroenke is going so slowly through the corner that the only way Gregor Hutu can make the corner would be to overtake him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, Hutu saw the opportunity. I think he knew that Kroenke was slow, so Hutu said, you know what? I'm not really going to set myself up for this final chicane. I'm going to go deep into the apex and just park it on there, park it right on the apex there. And Kroenke caught unaware. They made contact as well. I definitely know that Kroenke would have been surprised by that. But let's forget about that story. Martin Kroenke, third championship, right?
Is it confirmed yet? I mean, come on.
It's
not confirmed yet, is it? Because this might go down to Kota.
I think with the drop rounds as well, it should certainly be. Looking at the points advantage right now, I think it was around about 40, 45 at that stage. The advantage Kroenke could have gained with a race victory. He's lost 30 points now, so we'll see what happens when the final points are calculated, which takes some time.
Will,
and as far as 100 coming into it's just over 100 coming into this event. Jake, go ahead. I think that Hutu's in this.
Hutu's not in this because he was 130 back. He had a drop week of 0. So did Kroenke. I think that Hutu's just out, but it's 90 points now to Mitchell de Jong after all of this. De Jong's got a chance. It's a slim chance, and he will be relying on people like Graham Carroll, people like, say, not Ricardo Orozco, Diogo Oliveira. He's relying on every driver who has ever turned up for a race or has a license to turn up to have a shot at championship glory.
So thanks, Martin. We can't crown you champion. Thanks for ruining the last minute of what I did in that broadcast. I mean, Johnny, have you ever seen a race like that in the World Championship Series? Now, let's be honest. Let's be frank here.
I've never seen an ending like that. I've seen ridiculous ones. We know Schumacher Barrichello at Indianapolis when they tried the photo finish and accidentally gave the victory to Rubens. Probably payback for Austria 02 anyway. But that's Formula One. The last time I saw such a chaotic ending was, of course, Silverstone in this series back in 2016.
Or when Toyota, I mean, they had their own mishaps, but that was their own mishaps. I mean, we really need to speak to Martin Kroenke. Let's have a look at your final race results. Jake, go for it. I can't right now.
You can't, but my goodness, what a race. A championship that is still alive. Mac Backham wins by a second in the most controversial, the most dramatic end to a world championship race in history. Gregor Hutu steals one from Martin Kroenke, who led pretty much every lap of this event and then throws it away coming to the line. Josh Rogers deserves a lot of plaudits for 4th position, with Marcus Jensen 5th, also for Burst Esports. Tommy Erskard and Pashalis Jurgis for Coanda 6th and 7th. Great races by the pair of them, with Kazuki Umashima 20th all the way up to 8th. Jamie Fluke had contact with Backham. Keep that in mind. The stewards may get involved, finishing in 9th position, with Michael Partington rounding out the top 10 for Radicals Online. Yao Vaz and Ilka Harpala are 11th and 12th for the Orion race team. Quiet races for the pair of them. Ricardo Orozco finishes 13th, Paul Ilbrink 14th, and Dion Verges in 15th position. It would be 16th for Kevin Ellis Jr. and 17th for Davide Corps, the last man on the leading lap. But crucially, Mitchell de Jong's 18th place, after qualifying in 6th position, after having technical difficulties right at the start of the event. The championship is alive, but is by the slimmest thread possible. Mo Garfilio failed to finish 8 laps down, as did David Williams, a big incident at Radion. Antoine Higeland retired the car. Berryman had his own incidents, and under 2 race clutch cars struggling on lap number 1, Balazs Remenick and Stephen Michaels. Will, I have never seen anything like this, and I don't think we'll ever see anything like this ever again.
I need a commercial. Back in a minute, guys. The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
Oh, there we go! This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Cronky! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Well, boy, that was interesting, wasn't it? The last lap of the race, you saw almost the top 3 changed positions entirely. Martin Kroenke led into the final lap. However, he finishes 3rd. Mac Backham is your race winner here in what has been a crazy, fantastic race here in the penultimate round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Backham wins by 1 second over Gregor Hutu. And then Martin Kroenke in 3rd, Rogers in 4th, and Marcus Jensen rounds out your top 5. Johnny, I am always going to talk about Silverstone 2016. This, in my opinion, was crazier.
Yeah, I did. Well, I still have to comprehend what went on, but you're right. It has the potential to be crazier. Let's see what lives on. You know, is this going to be? We'll see in a month's time, in a few months' time. Is this crazier than that Silverstone 2016 finish? At least we might be able to use this one in some iRacing promo videos, I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah, and Jake, I mean, let's be honest. We were literally serenading. I was literally serenading Kroenke to the championship.
Well, this is proof, Will, that no race is over until you reach the finish line. It happens just like that. But oh my goodness me. I have never, in all of my racing years on iRacing, seen a race come down to that and have a massive, massive moment like that. I think that it is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I think it just epitomizes this 2018 championship, why it has been so fascinating to watch. And I think it's something that will be talked about for years, maybe even decades to come.
I've got a question for you, Johnny.
Yeah.
Have you ever?
You like asking that question, don't you?
I do. Have you ever? I mean, I'm still in shock. I mean, one thing I want to talk about very quickly. First eSports. We talked about them. They started in 3rd and 4th. They finished 4th and 5th here today. Despite, I mean, they've only really lost one position. That's the Gregor Hutu. Great performance by them.
I have to say, very impressed by Burst Esport. If we had to pick a team of the day, we'd give it to them for sure, right? I mean, we always pick driver of the day, but for Rogers and Jensen, two young guns, to be that impressive, finish 6 seconds off the lead at a racetrack. By the way, I know we've overhyped the Coanda sort of dominance at Spa, but let's be honest, they are the best team around here. They've got all the setup choices down pat. They've got the driver talent here, the lines. I watched Kroenke's pole lap here last year, I remember, in preparation for this round, and God, that was one of the best laps I've ever seen, you know, in my life at this track and in this series. So to only finish that far off and for Gregor to be that close to victory, it didn't go easy for Coanda, you have to say, and Burst were one of those teams that made their life troubled.
Jake, Race Clutch, however, they have had a weekend to forget. In terms of this race, however, they've been doing pretty stonkingly well in terms of the Petit Le Mans.
They are. I think that the team had bigger focus on Petit Le Mans because of just how well they've been doing in pre-qualification now into the race. I think that they are developing for this World Championship. I think it's been a tough run. But when both drivers of your team go out in the opening 4 corners, that just symbolizes a poor day.
It does. Let's have a chat then to your race winner, Mac Backham. Congratulations. My word. What a crazy, crazy end, that motor race.
Oh yeah, well, the entire race was crazy. Everyone was so fast today, and I'm close to dead right now. So,
can you talk us through that final lap to start off? Did you know that Kroenke was short on fuel, giving you the position, holding up Hutu, any of the above, whatever?
Yeah, at the final stint, I mean, I figured Martin would be a bit faster because he pitted a lap later, and then when I saw that it was gaining time on him, I asked Philip what was going on, and he said Martin was short on fuel. So then I caught up quite a bit, which really helped me in the end, because a few times Gregor was close to me. I could use my DRS kind of that I had on Martin then to defend, which otherwise would maybe not have happened. So yeah, it all really worked in my favor. And
the race itself as well. I mean, you were the second best kind of sim sports driver today. You were ahead of Mitchell de Jong. Mitchell just said quite publicly that this was his one and only chance to get himself a championship. And I'm going to think already to 2019. Your performance here today, winning the race, winning 3 races in 2018, even though you can't get the championship now, is 19 championship what you're looking for?
I really don't know. I have to see it. I really don't know what the direction the series is going in next year. So I really have to see what's going to happen with that first, and then we'll see. But yeah, I mean, my goal is obviously to win all the races. I know that's probably not a realistic outlook, but it is the goal, of course. So yeah, I guess with that would come a championship if you win everything like Martin did last year.
I was going to say, your teammate said that it's not realistic, but he did it at the end. But heading into the final race at Kota, I want to talk about team dynamics here at Kiwana Sim Sports, because right now there is a gap between Kroenke and De Jong. De Jong, of course, is going to be in ultra-offensive mode. Kroenke might be in a more of a defensive mode. How does it work for the rest of the Kiwana Sim Sports drivers in terms of interfering in the battle that's going on out front?
Well, I think we all just drive our own race, and that's what Philip as well told me before the race here. You should just drive your own race, and of course you always take it a bit easy. You know, I'm not going to go side by side through a Rouge with Martin or Mitchell or something, but other than that, you always just try to do your own race and then see where you end up. And about Kota, yeah, Kota is my favorite track by far, so I'm really looking forward to the 2 weeks I have to practice it.
You did, however, go around the outside of someone at Prix, so you know.
I don't remember. Who was that?
I can't remember myself, but I remember you did something crazy in this race.
Josh Rogers.
Josh Rogers, that's the one.
All right, well, I guess if you guys remember it, was pretty good. I forgot all about it, actually.
But before we let you go, who do you want to give a shout-out to from Kiwana Sim Sports?
Obviously, Philip and Jörn for spotting, and everyone else in the team for helping prepare this round. I think, again, like Suzuka, we had really good prep as a team this round. It was really good with all the drivers and also our partners. So that's Virtual Racing School, Oezingveld, SimQuip, VTech, JRT, Underwear Design, and thank you guys for the broadcast.
Well, thank you very much, Matt Backham, your victor here today. And well, Johnny, is he a 2019 championship contender?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the pace and his form at the end of this season has been just remarkable. And think about this. If you can perform this well off 1 week of testing, that goes to show you're even more incredible of a driver. You've had less time to prepare for this race, and Mac's work ethic has been just phenomenal. He's put in a lot of laps behind the scenes, and this will all contribute. You know, it builds your muscle memory, builds your reactions, understanding of the car, and all this and the other. So Mac Backham, look out for him. 2019, eventually Martin Kroenke is going to have to step aside from the championship throne. And maybe Mac is the next one. Another one, maybe possibly Josh Rogers, Marcus Jensen, like we said. Maybe Peter Berryman also. Who knows?
We did see the guy with the longest hair in iRacing on the YouTube chat earlier on, David Haynes. David, you did watch the race, didn't you?
No.
Well, in that case, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Jake, final thoughts.
I have never seen a race like this. This is probably the greatest race I think we have seen in a World Championship. It was crazy from minute 1 to minute last. Strategies were always changing, chopping. We saw some brilliant overtakes. And for those who think that Spa-Francorchamps is just simple and is basic and doesn't do anything, you just put that race on, you sit back for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you go, no, you're wrong. That was absolutely fantastic to see. Mac Backham, I did say he had that chance to take that victory. He wanted that third race victory this season. He's got that reward from a bit of help from Martin Kroenke. But my goodness me, what a season.
And we've still got one more race to go, Johnny. And, I mean, again, what a race we've had here today. But Kota is always a race that can make things very interesting. What would happen if Kroenke doesn't qualify in pole position? He starts in the middle of the pack and ends up maybe being involved in an incident.
Well, I mean, we could see that. Mitchell de Jong has won races at the Circuit of the Americas, so it could happen again in just a couple of weeks' time to end the season. It's still not over, but just hearing word Mitchell de Jong's issues, he had some very technical issues during qualifying, and again during the race as well, like we saw. So that's why he missed lap 1. And it's very weird because what we see on the iRacing service is that there's sort of a message pop up in the log that shows the drivers who have lost connection or have had the technical issue. None of that showed up for de Jong, and that's what made this issue much more weird and much more difficult. So just have to feel for the man. He's worked so hard this season, but hey, I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, he looks very strong in Rallycross, and if he does lose his championship, he may have a shot at least claiming another one.
Indeed, so that is all we've got time for, though, here today in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And, well, lap number 44 of this race, we're ready to crown a champion. But As Lee Corso will say on College Game Day, not so fast, my friend. As right now they are doing the predictions on College Game Day. You know what? We'll do our predictions for next week. Jake, is it going to be Kroenke winning the championship?
It looks all but likely, Will. I think you need to see the gods intervene for Martin Kroenke to see a different champion being crowned other than Martin Kroenke. This is going to be so tough for De Jong. He's going to be hoping that something happens to Kroenke.
Jonathan Simon, do you think in 2 weeks' time it is going to be Kroenke or the driver of De Jong?
I think Kroenke will win the championship. I do think De Jong will win that race. I think there's no looking past him. Marcus Jensen also very strong at the Circuit of the Americas, so look out for him. And it's the final round. Look which drivers in that top 20 spot will put in more testing and will accidentally say, oh, look, I've tested too much. And instead of finishing 15th this race, oh, I'm about to win. Where did this come from? Maybe the likes of some of the Radicals drivers like Umashima today, who had incredible pace, will propel himself up the standings and possibly to a race victory, his first of his career, let's hope.
Thank you to Istvan Balau and TrackCams22.com. Thank you to Andreas1 and And1 Design for our overlay design. Thank you to Simon Grossman and AppSharing.com for the development and all the pretty things you see on the screen. And thank you also to Nick Thyssen for RaceSpot TV live timing and scoring. 13 of the 14 rounds of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series are now in the books. However, we still have one more race to go, and that's going to be at Circuit of the Americas. In 2 weeks' time, here, live on the iRacing eSports Network. From myself, Will Vincent, from Jake Sperry, and from Jonathan Simone, we'll see you all deep in the heart of Texas. Today, it's all about the Red River rivalry, but in 2 weeks' time, it's all going to be about who is going to be the 2018 iRacing World Champion of Grand Prix Series Racing. Good night from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, and we'll see you all deep in the heart of Texas in 2 weeks' time. Thank you for watching, and check out the iRacing Petit Le Mans.